Chapter 7.
Investigative journalism has always been a passion for me and Paul.
I know that might seem convenient for the sake of storytelling, but it's actually true.
During our teenage years, we spent a lot of time in and out of foster homes, so our options for entertaining ourselves were pretty slim.
We quickly discovered the easiest and cheapest way to pass the time was reading. Artemis with a stack of dime store novels, and me with a big old pile of beat-up comic books.
Maybe it was because of our big ol' unresolved past and uncertain future, but we always gravitated towards mysteries.
Ooh, how poetic. So you're saying we're kind of like Detective Dark?
Who?
You're killing me, Artie. He's like the most famous Magnificent Comics character. Eccentric billionaire turned vigilante to cope with his traumas.
Our heroes were the sleuths, the gumshoes, the private eyes who sifted through murky waters to make sense of things, to shine a light in the darkness.
Pretty soon we graduated to the nonfiction stuff. Dateline, 2020, and 60 Minutes. You know, the programs your Midwestern aunt recaps to you in a far too long email from her Yahoo account. Those were our jam.
What can we say? Something about the way Barbara Walters got the scoop was comforting, and honestly, a huge reason why we do what we do today.
Thanks for being part of our origin story, Babs.
But the idea of following in the footsteps of our favorite broadcast journalists always seemed far from attainable. That is, until podcasts hit the scene.
Suddenly, the way into our dream job became crystal clear. All anyone needed to start a podcast was a recording device and a unique perspective.
Now, anyone could document riveting human interest stories, not just the Barbara Walters or Detective Darts.
Dark? Detective Dark? Come on, his films have been rebooted like 4 times.
So you could imagine how excited we were when we got hired at APN to work on good old American Living.
And after years of hard work and countless American Living stories, we were on top of the world when this season of Wayward Guide was entrusted to us. Finally, we had become the heroic detectives of our own grand mystery. Well, for a while at least.
In the pursuit of truth and justice, one can push too far, dig too deep. And that's exactly what we did in Connor Creek.
After a while, the line between good guy and bad guy becomes so thin that you can't even tell when you've crossed it.
Whoa. Was that Nietzsche?
Even better. Detective Dark, Liberty Team, issue 182.
From the American Podcasting Network, this is the Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye. I'm your host, Artemis Schue-Horyn.
And I'm your co-host without a rude bone in his body, because I'm positively Paul Light. I'm Paul Schue-Horyn.
When we last left Connor Creek, the residents had put aside their political divisions after the town council election.
Only to replace it with a new paranoia that drove them even further apart. Who amongst them was a bloodthirsty werewolf?
Now, as outsiders, Paul and I felt slightly removed from the town's wolf craze.
Well, speak for yourself. I was attacked.
The point being, we needed to maintain our cool if we had any chance in bringing order to the chaos.
We recognized a pattern and developed a theory. Ryan, Prism, and Odie were all anti-mining. Clearly the motive was tied to Minor Mole's operations.
But all of that was thrown out the window when Barney, a man vehemently in favor of the Minor Mole expansion, turned up dead. With the rug pulled out from under us, Paul and I were just another 2 screwballs making accusations that didn't hold up. Do you remember in Chapter 4 when we discussed the observer effect? How subjects of a test or investigation change their behavior when they're being observed?
Well, Artie and I quickly became the victims of a new phenomenon that we'll call the Schue-Horyn effect, where the subjects, aware of our observance, turn on the observer. It's kind of like Planet of the Apes, when the monkeys rise up and revolt against the human scientists.
But Paul, the scientists were the bad guys in that story.
Yeah.
I can't be seen talking to you two. It could tarnish my perfect customer satisfaction record.
Quinn, we're here to help.
No. You see, you've taken a risotto, a perfectly seasoned mushroom risotto with long-grained carnaroli, and you've overstirred it.
I assume that's bad?
Excuse me while I scream into my apron.
Fear of a common enemy had finally unified the locals of Connor Creek, and they made it very clear that this was no longer our fight.
Honey, I need you to listen to me for a second. Grab all the mining gear you can carry and bring it to Minor Mole. Those dogs aren't getting to Mr. Thorson.
Cliff, I literally just suggested this, but of course, when it's your
I'm
idea.
sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I was moving Barney's dead body.
Do you think the precautions are really necessary? We still aren't sure.
Zip it, Miss Schue-Horyn. I'll worry about my family, and you worry about yours.
Ooh, sick burn, Ma.
I should note, that wasn't a burn. It was just advice.
In a reactionary move, Truman had assembled a werewolf hunting task force and put Sheriff Madison in charge. We, on the other hand, were in favor of continuing a more investigative approach, analyzing the facts, following the breadcrumbs, and, most importantly, not jumping to conclusions.
But nobody cared what we thought. The town had already sided with Truman, and Madison always sided with the town.
Okay, all right, so, Riley, can you go fetch Olivia? I think we need to take stock of the artillery we're working with.
Hell no. I'm hitting the field now. I got my camo face paint, my hit piece, and my Slim Jims. There is no way someone's killing a wolf before me. Ow!
No, but we need to stick to... Fine. Ags, can you grab Olivia and meet us at Aubrey's?
Sure thing. Gotta grab my New Balances in case I need to make a clean getaway. All right, here I go. Madison.
Artemis, please. I got a lot on my plate right now. Everybody's freaking out, and they're relying on me to put a plan together. And we should probably lock up Barney's Hall of Curiosities. Probably every store, actually. I can't have anyone getting looted. That would not be good for business. And
You had to hand it to Madison. Even in the middle of utter chaos, she couldn't help but look out for the little guy.
Yeah, it makes me feel extra bad for putting more pressure on her.
Let's get some canned goods, because if folks are going to be stuck inside for a while, we got to make sure they still get food.
Madison, I know things are getting out of control, but you have the power to end this. No one will listen to me and Paul, but you can get them to do the right thing.
I'm sorry, but am I not doing the right thing?
Well, this task force
Is exactly what the people need to feel safe.
Come on, Madison. You gotta admit something feels off about this werewolf business.
I can't figure out what you want from me, Artemis. First, you push me into the town council race, then you tell me to back out of it. And just a few minutes ago, you came to my defense, only now to tell me what I'm doing is wrong. For someone claiming they want to make sense of everything, you sure do a heck of a job confusing people.
Listen, I've just been in your shoes. I know how it feels to let your desire to help people cloud your better judgment.
Stop trying to get in my head. You don't know what it's like. You have never been sheriff of a town being attacked by werewolves. You've never had innocent people die under your watch, and you've never lost your brother. My judgment is clear as day. The only thing clouding it is your judgment. Now, excuse me.
That didn't feel great.
Not only was Madison our friend, she was genuinely one of the kindest, most compassionate people I've ever met. It was like Mr. Rogers getting mad at you.
Paul, you don't need to rub it in.
Sure, but I'm providing context for the listeners.
Sure, but what we did was with the best of intentions.
Sure, but the people of Connor Creek were too wrapped up in their own issues to see that.
Yeah, I told you this is not really the best time.
Well, when is, Desmond? Connor Creek, your home, is a powder keg. In a matter of days, your peaceful existence has been turned upside down. Your neighbors need sensible people like you
Keep a level head and not rustle any feathers. Best to be calm in a storm, right? You can Twitter that if you like.
The doctor is out. Des, a vodka neat and a whiskey chaser, please.
We're gonna be shutting down early tonight, Henry.
Perfect. I prefer drinking alone anyway.
Sometimes you just don't get the hint because you're in too deep.
Okay, the kitchen's closing, Helen, so put your order in now if you're eating, okay?
Sure thing, Des.
Are you serious right now? Your friends are dying, and you're doing your part by closing early? Jesus, Desmond, I know you're a pacifist, but I didn't take you for a fool.
Actually, cancel my order. I'll have what she's drinking.
Artie, back off.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that.
I just don't understand you people. Here we are, doing hours and hours of work to help this town, and no one listens to us. We are not even from here.
Well, maybe that's your problem. You need a good night's sleep in your own bed. Back home.
Is everything all right over there?
Sure is. Just discussing changes to the Schue-Horyn reservation. Maybe you two should think about skipping town tomorrow.
Losing Madison's trust was hard enough, but now our only remaining allies were abandoning us left and right.
As a journalist, reputation and credibility are everything. Without them, doing your job becomes really difficult.
This was arguably the toughest day of the investigation. And I say that as someone who was mauled by a werewolf.
At the start of this story, I genuinely thought we'd come out the other end as heroes, as the saviors who successfully weeded this town of corruption and shined a little light on the darkness. But my ambition complicated things. I became so intent on how we could solve this case that I forgot to stop and ask if getting involved was even a good idea in the first place.
When you're in the business of getting into other people's business, it's hard to tell when you need to just mind your own business. Especially if your own business is other people's business.
Maybe Connor Creek didn't need saving. Maybe our investigation made things worse. Maybe we were the scientists in Planet of the Apes.
But hey, the best villains are the ones you can sympathize with.
Paul, that doesn't help.
Sorry.
So there we were, holed up in Connor Creek, facing the most danger we'd ever been in, with no friends and not a clue of where to go next. I bet Barbara Walters never had to deal with this shit.
Next time on Wayward Guide.
Boss's log, day 6. My employees seem to have gone MIA. They won't pick up my phone calls or answer my texts. It is concerning. JK. Listen, just another email from me. Leslie, the guy who hired you, the guy who signs the checks. Ooh, speaking of checks, that's why I'm calling, to check in on you. Haven't heard from you guys today, and contractually, yep, you are legally obligated to touch base with me daily. Yep, there it is. There it is in writing. Don't worry, you're not in trouble. You know, I just want to get an idea of, where this is going. You know, the notes indicate a very interesting turn with the werewolves and stuff. So it seems like a pretty bold direction. Well, anyways, maybe we should start wrapping this up.
Tin Can Brothers presents Wayward Guide for the Untrained Eye. Starring
Mary-Kate Wiles
and
Steve Zaragoza.
Written and directed by Corey Lubowich, Joey Richter, and Brian Rosenthal. Featuring
Corey Doris,
Kurt Mega,
Whitney Avalon,
Ryan Simpkins,
Joanna Sotomura,
Tara Perry,
Lauren Lopez,
Dylan Saunders,
Carlos Valdez,
Gavin Pickens,
and
Sean Astin.
Original theme music, sound design, and mixing by Ears Up Sound Design. Executive producers Corey Lubowich, Joey Richter, and Brian Rosenthal, Paul Komorowski, and Greg Gibbons and April Morris. Go beyond the podcast and watch new episodes of the Wayward Guide Companion Series on YouTube. Please rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, visit waywardguideshow.com or follow Tin Can Bros on Instagram and Twitter.